Bell, host of New Beginnings, heard every Saturday at 11 a.m. right here on AM 950. Each week I bring you timely information on finances, AARP updates, Minnesota Department of Health information, what's going on around our area, a spiritual message, my words to the wise, history notes, and more. So tune in this Saturday at 11 a.m. for New Beginnings with me, Freddie Bell. I'll see you then.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950, here to tell you about the exterior construction company I trust, Snap Construction. If your home was hit with the most recent storms, trust the most well-reviewed exterior construction company, Snap Construction, for a free home inspection.
This is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. There are a lot of great construction companies in town. My advice is to take your time and do your research. Make sure they are locally owned and that they guarantee their craftsmanship for life. Also, you want to find a company that's been in business for at least 10 years. You want to work with a company that's going to be there long after the work is done. Snap Construction has handled thousands of claims, and we'll help you through the process.
Don't go with the out-of-town, fly-by-night contractor. Most storm damage goes missed by the untrained eye. Trust Snap Construction for your free storm damage evaluation. For your free storm damage evaluation, call Snap Construction at 612-333-SNAP or visit them online at snapconstruction.com. That's 612-333-SNAP or snapconstruction.com.
Seward Co-op is now offering convenient self-serve and prepackaged hot options and salad bars at both the Franklin and Friendship stores. Breakfast items available daily until 11 a.m. and brunch served all day every Sunday. Their weekly lunch and dinner menus highlight cuisines from around the world. They offer vegan, vegetarian, and gluten-free options daily. 95% of the ingredients used are organic from small-scale, local community food producers whenever possible. More at seward.coop.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for showers and storms tonight with a low around 54, Thursday more rain with a high near 60, and Friday cloudy with a high near 46. Satisfy your sweet tooth at Latunji's Palate. They have gourmet desserts, including the best peach cobbler in the world, which will satisfy any craving. Latunji's offers vegan and gluten-free options, plus sandwiches and coffee drinks. Visit Latunji's Palate for more info or stop by their Minneapolis location at 1400 Park Avenue South.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous. Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hitting cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. And we discuss local and national Native news and events. And as you know, Haley, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
You're absolutely right, Robert. This portion of the show is supported by Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon, supporting honest Native news from Natives themselves. Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon.
Hey, we're really pleased and really grateful that Dr. Kate Beane can come on with us tonight and talk about a few things. And I just want to give a off-the-cuff bio of Dr. Beane and the respect I have. You did an awesome documentary a few years ago. You were really in the forefront of changing the name of the lake to Made. All right, I'm having problems here. Made Bakaska.
You can do it.
all these years, I was like really happy that I was able to do it, and now I panicked because, well, I'm going to blame it because you're on. But Dr. Beane, thank you so much for coming on. And Made Bakaska is the name, right? Close.
Pina Gigi, Pina Maya Robert. Yes, Bade Makaska. In our language, the Bade, it's kind of like a in between an M and a B in different dialects. Focus a little bit more on the M or the B, but from what I've been taught is in our older language, it's kind of like in between. And so some people say Bade Makaska, other people say Made Makaska, but it means White Earth Lake, and it's a beautiful name.
It is. And, we were just at the sunrise ceremony here this year, and I've gone there a couple of years, and it's just, it's really powerful that the name of the lake was changed, and that we celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day there every year early in the morning. And this year it was great weather. The year before it was raining and it was really dark. And I got there and I was going, did I miss it? Because it's a lot lighter than it was last year out. But no, I got the sunrise. But we're here to talk about a couple things, but I want to keep you on for a couple segments, quick segments here. And one of the things that we're going to have you talk about a couple times here is the State Emblems Redesign Commission and what that's happening and the deadlines, and maybe give our audience all over Turtle Island here a little background of what's happening with our flag and why it should be changed.
Absolutely. So I'm excited to be here today to talk about, as you mentioned, a couple different things. And one of those things is the State Emblem Redesign Commission. I'm a part of a 13-member commission chaired by the fabulous Louise Fitch that is tasked with essentially coming up with a new state seal and a new state flag for the state of Minnesota. And that was a decision that was made at the state legislature to move forward with that. Thanks so much to the wonderful work of Senator Mary Kunish and others. And I know she's been on the show before, and her work is just so invaluable for our communities and for all of us across the state and region. I think, first of all, why do we need a new state seal? Why do we need a new state flag? A lot of people don't even really understand what our seal and flags are. And I feel like in some ways that kind of speaks volumes in itself. Our flag is very busy. And there are people called vexillologists, which I've learned a lot about, which are flag experts who talk about what makes a good flag. Simplicity, design, there are a lot of things to really think about in terms of what catches your eye and what really represents a community and or community made up of multiple communities, diverse communities. And for us, for the state flag in particular, it incorporates the state seal. And the state seal is a design element that was created around the flag itself was created, I think, 35 years after they declared statehood. But the seal itself was a seal that was designed by Seth Eastman, early landscape painter of Minnesota, who was actually one of my grandparents. He was one of my great-great-grandfathers. And as much respect as I have for him as a relative, there are a lot of problems with the image. And some of those problems have to do with the fact that when you look at our flag, the symbolism of the flag is a symbol of manifest destiny. It's a symbol of oppression. It's directly tied to the history of treaty making in this country. You see the plow, you see the farmer versus what they say Native American without explicitly saying Dakota. You see all these images, and you see this horse rider sort of riding off into the sunset, which is highly problematic. And so when we think about symbolism in the state of Minnesota, it's important to think about symbolism that unites us instead of symbolism that focuses on white supremacy and that focuses on antiquated ways of representing Indigenous peoples. And so in 2023, it's time for a new seal and it's time for a new flag. And they don't have to be the same designs either. And so our state, our commission, we are essentially taking submissions. And so this is a public opportunity for people to upload their submissions. And you can upload up to 3 designs per either, if you want to upload up to 3 designs for a seal, for the flag, So 6 designs total. You can upload one design. It's really open to the public. And the commission is essentially, at this point, we have 1,000 submissions. A number of them are from school children, which is really fun. But we're going to be taking those submissions, and we're going to, each of our the commission members are going to be picking 25 of our top picks. And then we'll be having conversations and taking public comment on some of those. And there will be a public opportunity to engage with us directly, where we will be discussing some of our perspectives around some of our top picks. Those top picks will come together, and we'll actually work with a marketing firm to sort of tighten up the image so that it fits within the parameters of what is needed for a seal, what's needed for a flag. Some of the things that we're really hoping for is for the flag in particular, I think simplicity is nice. There are a lot of people who said they'd love to see the North Star. There are some people who said they'd love to see the Badote. They'd love to see the rivers coming together. We don't want to see people. We want to honor the landscape. We want to honor, who we are as a society and as communities coming together. And we don't want it to be something that isolates out anybody. We want it to be a unifying symbol.
I don't like the gun leaning on the stump, because that gives me a lot to think about in all seriousness.
Absolutely.
He's looking at the native, he's got a gun. It's not for, I don't see any bears or anything for that, or deer or anything. I just see a Native American in the background. So that's always been like puzzling, to say the least.
Yeah, and that image is inspired by a Seth Eastman image. It was directly taken and then flipped, so he's actually riding off into the sunset. It's a really weird history, but that image in the middle, that is the state seal. And that state seal is added onto a number of documents. If you've ever been to a notary, you'll see it. The thing that's striking for me with the state seal that I remember is after the murder of George Floyd, during Derek Chauvin's trial, every time it came to a pause within that trial, they would zoom in on the state seal on the wall.
Hey, Dr.
And for
Beane.
me,
Dr. Beane, I'm going to break into this right now. We'll talk a little bit more, but that's a really good point. I want you to remember that, like I remembered Bede Makaska, or even better. Hey, you're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and here we're with Dr. Kate Beane, Minnesota Museum of Art person, also just all groovy person, and I'm so excited to have her on. We'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us.
We are your relatives.
We are your relations.
Brothers,
sisters,
sons,
daughters.
And some of us are your grandchildren.
We are your community. Historically, we held places of honor and respect. Because of the impact of colonization, some of us are rejected, thrown out from family, friends, and community, set up as targets for sexual violence, sex trafficked, humiliated, tortured, and murdered. Everybody has the right to be safe. We are your relatives. Remember,
homophobia is not traditional.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Back to school season is here. And while this is an exciting time for parents, kids, and educators, let's not forget how far we've come in our battle against COVID-19. We're in a better place, but COVID-19 is still here, and we need to continue to help protect our communities. With the flurry of new schedules and classrooms, let's not overlook the fundamentals of staying safe. Wash your hands regularly and watch for any symptoms like fever, chills, a cough, or shortness of breath. Should you or someone you know have COVID-19 symptoms, stay home and get tested. Find more tips on continuing to be safe at health.state.mn.us. Let's have this back-to-school season be a time of renewed commitment to our collective health and brighter future for our Native communities. Again, find more tips on continuing to be safe at health.state.mn.us.
This message is brought to you in partnership with the Minnesota Department of Health.
The Guthrie Theater presents For the People, an irreverent new comedy born of the Twin Cities Native community. In the play, April Dakota dreams of opening a wellness center on Franklin Avenue to serve the Native community. She's counting on a grant to make it happen, but when her presentation goes sideways, she's forced to make a decision that puts the community and her culture at risk. On stage now through November 12th. Tickets at GuthrieTheater.org. That's through November 12th. GuthrieTheater.org.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Support honest Native news from natives themselves. Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon.
Hey, they're a great organization. Oh, wait, that's us. Hey, we're here with Dr. Kate Beane, and we're talking about the state flag and the emblem and about changing it. Before we get back into the story, Dr. Beane, I'd like you to tell everybody where they can go to upload their own art, up to 6 images for their ideas of a state flag or a state emblem.
Absolutely. So there is a website to go to. If people want to mail in, they can mail in. But if you go to the website, www.mnhs.org/SERC. So or you can also just go straight to the Minnesota Historical Society main webpage, and there's a banner there, and you can click on it. And if you go there, there's the form that you can submit by October 30th. We want more submissions. I, in particular, would love to see submissions by Indigenous folks across Turtle Island. I think it would be absolutely wonderful to get some Indigenous designers in there, artists in there represented within our seal and our flag.
Hey, it would be really cool if there was some of a Ho-Chunk design in there.
Absolutely.
Okay, thrown there on the side. No, but hey, you were before I rudely interrupted you. You were talking about during the George Floyd trial.
During the George Floyd trial, I remember the camera would zoom in on the state seal whenever they would go on a break, or they would go on a break. And so it's really interesting to me as a Native person that here we're talking about issues of white supremacy and violence in the state of Minnesota, and we would zoom in on a symbol of white supremacy and violence. And I remember wondering, like, doesn't this bother anybody? Like, am I the only one that finds this really offensive? And so, these symbols have been around for an awful long time, but we as Indigenous people have been around for a lot longer. And so we're really excited to see new symbols and to see representations that actually better reflect this land that we all love.
Absolutely. And I'm excited to see what comes about on this, because I think, like you said, the simple, the better. I know personally the 2 young people they were young people then, they're in their 60s now, that designed the Madison city state flag or city flag, which is very simple and very like you said, it's very simple, and they don't have a capital on. They don't have deer running through. They don't have guns. So yeah, and again, maybe Haley can pop up for the people that are watching us, and we're on over 25 stations around Turtle Island and Wisconsin, and Illinois and Michigan. But we also have a big group of people that watch us on Facebook Live and YouTube. So when we can get that address up there too, we can pop that up there. Hey, I did mention your documentary, and I want you to say the name of it too, because every once in a while I see it pops up on PBS.
Yeah, so my dad and I worked on a documentary. It's a story about one of our grandfathers, Charles Eastman, who was a grandson of Seth Eastman. Ohiesa, the Soul of an Indian, and it's available on Amazon Prime to rent or to purchase. It's a Vision Maker Media film. Ohiesa, the Soul of an Indian. My dad and I also just recently published one of our grandfather's unpublished manuscripts that was left within our family archive after he passed. He drafted it probably around 1935, and it was the creation story of our Dakota people. And it's an absolutely beautiful, beautiful story that he documented directly from elders in his own community, and it's a beautiful opportunity to publish that as well.
Absolutely. And just to remind some of our audience who your grandfather was, because he was a complex person like we all are, but also his writings and his books. And maybe you can just do a little overview of who he was.
Sure. He was one of the first writers to be born out of Minnesota. He was born in Redwood Falls in 1858. He was a child during the Dakota War. He went on to become a graduate of Dartmouth College and the Boston School of Medicine, and became one of the first Native medical doctors. Susan LaFlesche was the first, and he was the second Native medical doctor. He was the physician who tended to those who were wounded at the Wounded Knee Massacre in 1890 in Pine Ridge. And he went on to become an American Indian rights advocate and lobbyist, and fought for citizenship rights and recognition for us. He was a founder of the Society of American Indians. He also helped found some of the reservation chapters of the YMCA and the Boy Scouts of America, and was somebody who fought for all of us across this beautiful land.
Wow. Yeah. And it's a great documentary. And I'm looking forward to seeing it again, and you can get it on Amazon Prime. You can rent it or buy it, and it's awesome. So, Dr. Beane, what else do you got cooking there? I know you're working with the museum, Minnesota Museum of Art. What's happening there?
Yes, so the Minnesota Museum of American Art is a museum that's been around since the 1890s, and it's in the Pioneer Endicott building in downtown St. Paul on Robert Street in Lower Town. And we are about to reopen on November 4th. We're going to reopen with a Hazel Belleville retrospective. Hazel is a phenomenal, wonderful artist. She taught at the St. Paul Academy, at MCAD for 35 years. She was co-founder of the Women's Art Registry of Minnesota, also known as WARM. Some people know her as in terms of her relationship. Her husband was George Morrison, and the M also has one of the largest, or the largest, George Morrison collections. And Hazel is a good friend of the M, and is somebody who I just cherish so deeply. Her arts background, her paintings, her drawings, her life experience and legacy is just phenomenal. And she's going to be there on Saturday, November 4th. For people to talk with, and her son Brian will be coming in and playing music, and we're just super excited to have her come in. The museum itself, as I mentioned, has been closed for 4 years. I'm the first. I'm one of the only American Indian executive directors of an American art museum in this country, and wow. There are very few executive directors of art museums who are Indigenous in general in this country. And what we're working to do is to indigenize these spaces, and to change the ways in which we are represented and welcomed within these spaces. And the M in particular has a longstanding relationship with Indigenous communities here in Minnesota and throughout the region. We work a lot with communities. We do a lot of community partnerships, artist-led initiatives, co-curated exhibitions. We work with students. We do a lot of the skyways and murals across downtown St. Paul, and we're really a community-rooted museum, and so we're really looking forward to actually being able to reopen our doors and welcome people in. The larger museum space will be still under construction, so we're opening one gallery with Hazel's beautiful retrospective, and then we have other gallery spaces. We're going to be expanding our museum. We're going from 2,000 to 6,000 square feet of gallery space, and that expanded space will open in this next summer.
Wow, exciting. And I was going to mention too, this past weekend, I saw you at the Minnesota Historical Society, where you used to work at, and what a great, well, it was good to see you for one, but also what a great exhibit they had. And we were blessed to go live there and do a special show and talk to some of the people that were in the neighborhood and knew the people, and like the Claremonts and all these old native names, and people that really were out and about doing what you do now, and what a lot of us do in the community. And it was really great to see those pictures and yourself.
Absolutely. I was blessed to have been a part of that exhibit from the beginning. I helped write the exhibit proposal for it. My colleague and friend Ben Gessner and I actually ended up finding those images in the archives, and those are Star Tribune Journal negatives, and some of them had never been published. And we started looking through them, and Ben and I started on our personal Facebook pages just sharing photographs with community, and people started finding their relatives and telling stories within the comments. And we realized this is really beautiful. And, you know, to see the ways in which that phenomenal Native American Initiatives team, Rita, Amber, Jacob, they've done such a good job of going out into community, getting names, getting stories, and inviting people in. And so I definitely recommend people go out and see that exhibit.
One thing I really liked, and I didn't know because until we had them on guests a couple of weeks before the opening, was that you had a strip of negatives too. So it was almost a story in itself. Not only the picture that was either published or made, but the negatives that came along with it.
Yeah, there are the negatives of all the photographs that hadn't been published yet. And there, I think it was really interesting to see within the ones that were published, the storylines. And some of them were written really sort of awkward, you know, how we're talked about oftentimes in the media and in the newspapers, you know, and they're really interesting ways in which we can recontextualize and reframe these stories from our perspectives are important.
Well, Dr. Beane, thank you so much for coming on. And look how easy it is to come on. You can come on like once a week from now on. Oh, wow.
I know, we should do it.
Right on. Don't threaten us. We're going to send you an email next Wednesday. Awesome.
Right.
Thank you so much for being on. Up next, Arvina Martin, Executive Director of Emerge Wisconsin, and our Ho-Chunk sister. Wow. We'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and Strong Hearts Native Helpline is here to help. If you are experiencing domestic or sexual violence, Strong Hearts advocates provide culturally appropriate support and advocacy for Native Americans and Alaska Natives. Free, confidential, anonymous, 24/7. Strong Hearts advocates are Native American and take a Native-centered approach to every contact. Call or text 1-844-762-8483. That's 1-844-7-NATIVE, or chat online at www.strongheartshelpline.org.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
In this critical time for Indian country, voting is crucial to protecting the land, water, and communities. Voting creates collective power in securing our planet's future amid climate chaos. Engage in personal conversations with loved ones to ensure they are making informed voting choices. Register to vote. And don't forget that 16 and 17-year-olds can pre-register to vote in Minnesota. NACD is asking us to stand together and make voting a tradition. Go to NACD.org to learn more and make your pledge to vote. The Electric Fetus is having a store-wide Halloween sale now through October 31st. Take 20% off almost everything in the store, including new and used vinyl, CDs, and DVDs, clothing, books, incense, Electric Fetus t-shirts, hoodies, pint glasses, and more. Some restrictions apply. The store is open 10 to 6 Tuesdays through Saturdays and 11 to 6 on Sundays. It's closed on Mondays. The Electric Fetus is located just south of downtown Minneapolis at 2000 South 4th Avenue. More at electricfetus.com. That's electricfetus.com.
Minnesotans age 65 plus might qualify for Health Partners Minnesota Senior Health Options. The plan includes personal support, coverage for medical, prescription drugs, and dental, plus over 30 extra benefits. Eligibility information is available at healthpartners.com/oneplan. Health Partners is a health plan that contracts with both Medicare and the Minnesota Medical Assistance Medicaid program to provide benefits of both programs to enrollees. Enrollment in Health Partners depends on contract renewal.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. We have families waiting for a car. Over 85% of unemployed are successful in finding and keeping a job if they have dependable transportation. A car plus a job equals a life changed. 612-919-5526. We have families waiting for a car. 919-5526 or autotech.org.
Hi, this is Gina. Matthew, I will not read this next line.
I'll be your snookum wookums.
Fine. My husband is the sexiest radio host in Minnesota, Matt McNeil.
Dang straight.
When it came time to replace my vehicle, I wanted an option that was safe in the environment. I wanted a hybrid. My RAV4 hybrid is a greener vehicle without sacrificing style and comfort. I love my Toyota hybrid.
Toyota hybrids are incredibly fuel efficient. Test drive today at Rudy Luther Toyota, 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for showers and storms tonight with a low around 54, Thursday more rain with a high near 60, and Friday cloudy with a high near 46. Latunji's Palette is home of the best peach cobbler in the world. Their social enterprise business is built with purpose and fortified with love. Come and indulge in their gourmet desserts, sandwiches, and coffee drinks, including vegan and gluten-free options. Located at 1400 Park Avenue South in Minneapolis, or at latunjispalette.com.
This is Leonard Peltier. I'm in Coleman 1, U.S. Penitentiary, and I'm listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awakened. This is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon.
Hey, we are totally blessed to have Arvina Martin on. And again, what a great show this is going to be. We just had Dr. Beane on, and now we have the superstar out of Wisconsin, Ho Chunk, all around groovy person. And also, I want to just say executive director of Emerge Wisconsin, which each day we get closer to the election, your work is becoming more and more and more and more important. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm always happy to come and join you guys. And yeah, we're in the middle of our recruiting season here at Emerge. So any women or non-binary folks that feel comfortable in female-centered spaces, please, if you've thought about running for office, please check out our website at emergeamerica.org. Sorry, we just had a little bit of dog and cats here that wanted to get into it, so I had to separate in the middle of saying our website.
That's awesome. You have some dogs there and cats. That's
I have a dog sitting to my left, and I have a cat. Oh, there he goes.
Yep. Well, for many, many years, Wendy, my wife, does a sacred animal portion of our show, and the cat would bust through the door every segment and it's just funny, and it's welcomed. Let me say that. And she's a cutie, or he's a cutie.
Yeah, this would be his government name is Weejuk Ron Swanson, and for you non-ho chunks out there, Weejuk means cat, so he's Cat Ron Swanson. Though the name that we call him has evolved due to having a child who got him to be, we call him Benern now.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense when you have like a 6-year-old who's trying to come up with nicknames for the cat. So I might have to periodically give some scritches here.
That's a good name, Arvina. I will have to say I named my first cat as well, and I was not as creative. Its name was Meow Meow. So,
aww.
Yeah.
So a lot happening. What kind of update can you give us on our new Supreme Court Protasewicz? Are they still wanting to impeach her before her first day? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, that's still something that they want to do. We haven't heard anything recently about if it's going to happen or when it could happen. So we're kind of in a holding pattern. It's kind of stressful to not know exactly, what to expect. But fingers crossed that it doesn't happen, and we can we can keep going, and the court can do the business of the Supreme Court with all 7 members.
Yeah, well, and it looks like we have a person that's going to be resigning. It looks like they just elected someone today, and he's he thought Trump won, and it still is going to be running. He's in, so let's keep an eye on that too.
Oh, the speaker
Yeah.
nonsense. Yeah, I was watching yesterday and disappeared from the news only to find out that Emmert had been, well, when I left, Emmert was the speaker designee, and then he a couple hours later was no longer. And so I'm shocked that they found somebody, and they found someone that they were able to actually get votes for. And what a mess. I mean, completely crippling, Congress and stopping them from doing their work in this really important time right now, where we need our government to react to situations happening throughout the world, and they were being held hostage by the MAGA Republicans in the House of Representatives.
I love I've heard him called the Chaos Caucus, and that's exactly what's going on, and it's not a good chaos either.
No, and I have a hard time, believing how, or understanding how folks can justify, a vote for Republicans these days, just because they're not even able to, to elect their own leadership and let alone handle the issues of the country and the world these days. It's just, I mean, I'm actually shocked that they did find somebody who was able to get the votes, and hopefully they'll be able to work on some, updating, and we won't be headed to a shutdown on November 17th. That's my birthday, and all I want for my birthday is a fully functional government. It's not all I want, but it's my number one request.
Haley, make a note of that for us, please. Maybe we could saying all I want is a functioning government for Arvina. I'm a little addicted to TikTok, and there's certain times of the day I watch it, and so there's people I like. But one of these things that came up, and it was CNN reported this, and so we talk, or we hear the media talk about polls and how Biden's hurting. And by the way, Biden's going to be in town in Minneapolis next week. But guess where I'm going to be? I'm going to be in Washington, D.C., so I can't be here to meet him and do a selfie. I know. But anyways, a CNN reporter was saying that there have been 30 elections this past year across the country, and 28 out of the 30 were won by Democrats. And the ones that weren't won, they were showing the percentage. The ones that did not win, maybe they I think during the presidential election, that Trump took them by double digits, and they were less than single digits their loss. So there was a victory right there. So we can't really listen to these polls, because there's people out there that don't pick up the phone and answer questions or poll, and people like Haley, our Gen Zs, are going to save us.
Yeah, I saw a statistic that shows that Gen Z is far more inclined to, sorry. For those of you who are watching on screen, the cat just rubbed himself on my screen and pushed it down so you couldn't see me. That Gen Z is by and large going to be voting Democratic, and the generation after Gen Z is likely to be even more Democratic. Just with everything that Republicans are pushing, that are not trusting women to make decisions regarding her own health, requiring book bans, not allowing a proper care for kids that are trans, and not allowing any medication or medical treatment to address that issue. Those are the issues that Republicans are paying attention to. Meanwhile, we've got folks that are homeless. We have folks that need better access to healthcare, that need access to clean water, and our planet is rapidly warming, and we every month we get a new, this is the hottest blank month on record. There are so many things that are kind of dumpster fire situations right now that need to be addressed, and they're not, because the Republicans are wasting time either in a pissing contest regarding the speaker, or to or taking these bills that only take away rights from people, and the younger generations are not having it.
Yeah, they're sick of it, and I can't speak for Haley, but I've heard a lot of them. Are I'm a boomer. I'm on the end of the spectrum. 64 is a cutoff, and I was born in 61, so I'm partially a boomer, I would say, but that we've not left our young ones clean air, clean water, opportunities to buy homes, and that's generational wealth. All these things that we take, our older generation take for granted.
Oh, absolutely. I am the part of the micro generation, the Xennials, or AKA the Jordan Catalano generation, AKA the Oregon Trail generation. I was born in 79, which is like either the last or second to last year of Gen X. And there's some definite Gen X stuff, that I feel, but there's also a lot of millennial stuff I feel. And we are part of the generation, or like kind of the starting point of not being in a better situation than our parents were. I am 43 years old and I don't own my own house. It's just not feasible, and I have a very good paying job. It's not in the cards. And that sucks. And that's why we need to make sure that we are encouraging our younger voters to get out to the polls every time. And I'm talking about not just presidential years, not just for governors, but for spring elections. So much happens at the local level, whether you're voting on your city council races, whether you're voting for school board members, or state Supreme Court. These have huge impacts on everyday lives for all of us. So we need to make sure that we're paying attention and making sure our younger voters have access and can get to the polls every time.
Absolutely. We're here with Arvina Martin, CEO of Executive Director of Emerge Wisconsin, and we've been talking a little politics. And you can stay on and right for another segment. Awesome. We're going to probably have to talk a little bit about this border battle. It's about to happen this Sunday. Go Vikings! They really turned it on. Yeah. We'll be right back after this short break.
Be a vaccinative. As the fall season continues, new COVID-19 variants threaten the health of these new variants might even evade previous vaccines. That's why it's important to stay up to date. The newly authorized vaccines target current variants effectively and are FDA approved for ages 6 months and older. But there is an important note. These are the first COVID vaccines to be commercialized, which means there may be costs associated with them. Speak with your health insurer about your coverage before scheduling an appointment to avoid a surprise bill. For those without health insurance, help is available. Ask your health clinic about options or visit vaccines.gov for free locations. Getting vaccinated protects you from severe disease. Don't put yourself or elders at risk. So be a vaccinative and protect our community. You can visit vaccines.gov for free vaccine locations.
This message is brought to you in partnership with the Minnesota Department of Health.
October's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and Strong Hearts Native Helpline is here to help. If you are experiencing domestic or sexual violence, Strong Hearts advocates provide culturally appropriate support and advocacy for Native Americans and Alaska Natives. Free, confidential, anonymous, 24/7. Strong Hearts advocates are Native American and take a Native-centered approach to every contact. Call or text 1-844-762-8483. That's 1-844-7-NATIVE, or chat online at www.strongheartshelpline.org.
I'm having a really hard time lately, and I'm worried no one will understand what I'm going through.
I feel so alone. I wish there was somebody I could talk to.
If you're looking for support, Mental Health Minnesota is here for you, with connections to others who have also struggled with their mental health and can provide support and resources. Services are anonymous, confidential, free of charge, and open 7 days a week. Connect today at mentalhealthmn.org or call 855-HERE-FOR-MN today. Sponsored by Mental Health Minnesota, the Minnesota Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Arvina, that was a weak time.
I know. Sorry. I didn't want to confuse the dog.
Yeah.
There you go.
Good one.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about the rise and fall of Emmer and Mike Johnson now, the Louisiana conservative. Now
Who even was the second guy yesterday?
Say that again?
There was even a second guy that was speaker designee for about 45 minutes before he's like, no. And I can't even remember who that is.
And I don't think we'll ever know.
No, name is lost to history.
Exactly. Well, they were talking about doing a or a helper until they got the votes, and Trump just blew Emmer out of the water by saying he's not cool, and so he dropped out of it. And it was good to see today. The former president got a $10,000 fine over his comments outside the court during his civil tribal the fraud trial in New York. So that was good to see.
Yeah, well, I don't think that, and I don't know if that is the same one, but I know that he has been fined before. I think it was $5,000 before. I don't know if it's for the same trial. I'm presuming that's the only one that he's actually on trial for at the moment. It's hard to keep track sometimes. But I think it's going to keep going. I think he's going to keep, breaking that gag order, and maybe next time, maybe it'll just keep doubling. And he'll use his campaign or whatever he's raising money for to pay for that, his legal fees instead of campaign stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, we're here with Arvina Martin, and she's executive director of Emerge Wisconsin. And also, I just want to give you a quick shout out for people that don't know. You were the first Native American voted in as a city council member. We call that, that's what we call that in Minnesota, city council member in Madison, Wisconsin. So we're always fun talking politics and just catching up in a good way here. It's a Ho-Chunk show today.
Yeah. Long Chick Wednesday.
That's right. So one of the things my heart is singing about all these people that are flipping on the former president now. We have 4 people now that are willing to testify. And don't you have to have some really good information for people to make a deal with? Because they got pretty sweet deals. That first lawyer, she was She was they were going to go after her with racketeering and everything. She was going to go in for life if she got caught, and now she's going to possibly just have 6 months of probation. So she must have some really good info, Arvina.
I would assume so. I guess I don't know a whole bunch about how prosecutors make deals with defendants, but from what I've seen, I think even the talking heads on TV were kind of and I don't mean David Byrne, but they were kind of surprised that now we're up to 4 now, or are we up to 5? 4 plus Mark Meadows, who has been immunized and who has testified before the grand jury. I know that yesterday the attorney Jenna Ellis, her plea deal allows her to keep her law license. So they've been describing her as Giuliani's number 2. So you have to think that they're getting further up the chain, and what's going to happen to, the guy that used to be known as America's mayor. And, he's just got to be, I was going to use an expression that had a cuss word in it, and I'm not going to do that.
Right. Well, the mothership would have had to bleep that. And,
no, we can't do that.
Now they gave them a heads up now, so they're ready. So if it comes out, go for it.
Self-control.
But what's interesting, I don't know, did you hear her at all on the news yesterday? I mean, she was blaming other lawyers because she was young, and I'm just going, well, don't you have to take the same bar exam? I mean, don't you have to take the same classes that, lying's lying? Don't you have to check your information out in order to respond to it in either way?
I mean, one would think that she would be familiar with the concept of due diligence, etc., and especially with this crew, instead of, just taking their word for it. I don't know that I mean, yikes. But I also saw that they didn't require her to read that statement. She just did it on her own. Just wrote something that she wanted to read to the court. So I don't know what that's about, but perhaps it'll help her with. If she's got a plea deal, presumably she's already got some kind of sentencing involved. If that's not correct, I apologize. Again, I don't know much about court stuff. But it's just they're getting closer and closer, and it's wild to see if, again, when you watch the news shows and they've got the graphic up of all the people that have been indicted, and they put big red X's over people who have gotten plea deals. And I mean, I think, maybe they're going to start coming quick. Maybe the other folks that have been charged are going to be like, look, got all these guys now. I don't want to be the last one standing
with Trump. Yeah. Right? And he's not going to help anyone. Hey, were you able to see any movies or anything the last few weeks?
I didn't. I am still waiting to see Killers of the Flower Moon. And although I did a few weeks ago see Stop Making Sense, speaking of the talking heads, the remaster of that, which was incredible. But I'm hoping to see Killers of the Flower Moon soon. I worked all last weekend at the Women's March convention that was held in Milwaukee. And so I haven't had a chance. I haven't had a day off yet. And then this weekend, I'm taking my daughter to Chicago to go see Lauryn Hill. So,
oh wow,
yeah. Pretty excited.
I'm an old Fuji fan. Back in the day, she was awesome. That thing, is that the name of one of her songs?
Doo-wop, That Thing.
Yeah, that's one of my all-time favorite music videos too, because It's side by side of current and back to the 50s. We got like a minute left here. What
Mhm.
is your prediction here with the Vikings Packers game? And if you have any extra tickets, I will be driving there Sunday morning.
I do not have tickets, unfortunately. And I don't know. I think it's going to be. I think these border battles always end up being more intense than, regardless of what team is where in the standings. Like everybody
Mhm.
brings their A game because you got to do it for your divisional standings. So I think we're going to see a lot of people, everybody just playing their best and playing their hearts out. I just hope everybody has fun.
Yeah, and everyone stays safe because we know how the
Yeah.
fans are. That's short for fanatic, so we got to be aware of that. Well, Arvina, thank you so much. I know Haley and I really enjoy our conversations once a week,
Yeah.
and I know our audience does too. It's been really fun. Thanks so much for stopping in.
Absolutely. Anytime I'll be back.
Right on. Hey, if you're listening to the show, you're part of the resistance from Chief Plentycoops. The ground on which we stand on is sacred ground. It's the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office, and vote. We're still here. We are the seventh generation.
And free Leonard Peltier.
Now.
Now.